Father, we thank you for another opportunity to come together, Father, and assemble, coming to read and to learn of you, Father, even to read um, and go outside of our usual books that we know, Father. On today, we come to read the book of Jubilee. And I just ask, Father, on today that you will open our eyes to see, ears to hear, and minds and hearts to give us understanding of this as we read it, Father. I just thank you for each and every person that is here and those that were not able to make it on today, Father. I just ask that you will also bless them as they listen during the playback. And Father, I thank you that you've given us all life on today, that we have health, Father. If there's anyone here that's having any challenges in the area of their health, I pray that they be healed, Father. I pray, Father, that they be restored and be renewed. And I ask, as we read on today, Father, that you will allow this to be sown into our lives, that it will produce fruit, Father, and we'll be able to use it to the edifying of your kingdom. And I thank you for this, Father. I thank you for this time, and I give you all the praise in your Son, Yahseh. All right, we're at chapter 10. Okay, so it says, in the third week of this Jubilee, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah, and to make them sin and to destroy them. The sons of Noah came to Noah, their father, and they told him about the demons that were leading astray and blinding and slaying his sons' sons. And he prayed before Yahweh, his Most High, and said, Most High, of the spirits of all flesh, who have shown mercy to me and have spared me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and have not caused me to die as you did the sons of perdition. For your grace has been great toward me, and great has been your mercy to my soul. Let your grace be lifted up on my sons, and do not let the wicked spirits rule over them, or they will destroy them from the earth. But bless me and my sons, so that we may increase and multiply and replenish the earth. You know how your watchers, the fathers of these spirits, acted in my day. And so far, these spirits which are living imprison them and hold them fast in the place of condemnation. And let them not bring destruction on the sons of your servant, my Most High. For these are like cancer and are created in order to destroy. Okay, verse 6. Let them not rule over the spirits of the living, for you alone can exercise dominion over them. And let them not have power over the sons of the righteous from now and forever. And Yahweh, our Most High, commanded us, meaning the messengers, to bind all of them. The chief of the spirits, Mastema, came and said, Yahweh, Creator, let some of them remain before me, and let them listen to my voice and do all that I shall say to them. For if some of them are not left to me, I shall not be able to execute the power of my will on the sons of men. For these are for corruption and leading astray before my judgment, for great is the wickedness of the sons of men. He said, let 1/10 of them remain before him, and let 9/10 of them descend into the place of condemnation. Verse 10. He commanded one of us to teach Noah all their medicines, for we knew that they would not walk in uprightness nor strive in righteousness. We did according to all his words, all the malignant evil ones were bound in the place of condemnation, and a 10th part of them were left, that they may be subject in the presence of Satan on the earth. We explained to Noah all the medicines of their diseases, together with their seductions, how he might heal them with herbs of the earth. Noah wrote down all things in a book as we instructed him concerning every kind of medicine. Thus the evil spirits were precluded from hurting the sons of man. Verse 14, he gave all that he had written to Shem, his eldest son, for he loved him greatly above all his sons. And Noah slept with his fathers and was buried on Mount Lebar in the land of Arak. 950 years he completed in his life, 19 jubilees and 2 weeks and 5 years. In his life on earth, he was greater than all the children of men except Enoch because of his righteousness. He was perfect. But Enoch's office was ordained for a testimony to the generations of the world, so that he should recount all the deeds of generation to generation until the day of judgment. In the 33rd Jubilee, in the first year, in the second week, Peleg took to himself a wife whose name was Lamna, the daughter of Sinnar, and she gave birth to a son for him in the 4th year of this week, and he called his name Ru. For he said, "Look, the children of men have become evil because the building a city and tower in the land of Shinar was for an evil purpose. For they departed from the land of Arak eastward to Shinar. For in his days they built the city and the tower, saying, Go to, let us rise up thereby unto heaven." Verse 20, they began to build, and in the 4th week they made brick with fire, and the brick served them for stone. And the clay with which they cemented them together was asphalt, which came out of the sea and out of the fountains of water in the land of Shinar. They built it 43 years. Were they building it? Its breadth was 203 bricks, and the height of the brick was the third of one. Its height amounted to 5,433 cubits and 2 palms, and the extent of one wall was 13 times 600 feet, and of the other 30 times 600 feet. Okay. Verse 22, and Yahweh our Most High said to us, Look, they are one people, and they began to do this. And now nothing will withheld them from them, or nothing will be withheld from them. Let us go down and confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech, and they may be dispersed into cities and nations, and they will not be in agreement together with one purpose until the day of judgment. And Yahweh descended, and we descended with him to see the city and the tower that the children of men had built. He confounded their language, and they no longer understood one another's speech, and they then ceased to build the city and the tower. For this reason, the whole land of Shinar is called Babel, because Yahweh confounded all the language of the children of men there. And from that place they were dispersed into their cities, each according to his language and his nation. Then Yahweh sent a mighty wind against the tower, and it fell to the earth. And behold, it was between Ashur and Babylon in the land of Shinar, and they call its name Overthrow. In the 4th week, in the 1st year, in the beginning of it, in the 4th and 30th Jubilee, were they dispersed from the land of Shinar. Verse 28, Ham and his sons went into the land that he was to occupy, which he acquired as his portion in the land of the south. Canaan saw the land of Lebanon to the river of Egypt was very good, and he did not go into the land of his inheritance to the west, that is to the sea. And he dwelt in the land of Lebanon, eastward and westward, from the border of Jordan and from the border of the sea. Ham, his father, and Cush and Mizraim, his brothers, said to him, You have settled in a land which is not yours, and which did not fall to us by lot. Do not do so, for you do. Okay, do not do so. If you do, you and your sons will be conquered in the land and be accursed through a war. By war you have settled, and by war will your children fall, and you will be rooted out forever. Do not live in the land of Shem, for Shem, um, for to Shem and to his sons did it come by their lot. Verse 32. Cursed are you, and cursed will you be beyond all the sons of Noah, by the curse by which we bound ourselves by an oath in the presence of the pure judge and in the presence of Noah our father. But he did not listen to them and settled in the land of Lebanon from Hamath to the border of Egypt, he and his sons until this day. For this reason, that land is named Canaan. And Japhet and his sons went towards the sea and settled in the land of their portion. And Madai saw the land of the sea, and it did not please him. And he begged Ham and Ashur and Apakshad, his wife's brother, for a portion. And he dwelt in the land of Media, near to his wife's brother until this day. And he called his and his son's dwelling place Media, after the name of their father, Madai. Okay, I think that's it. All right. Okay, so that's the end of the chapter. A lot of information in there. I can point out a couple of things that I saw, and then you all can feel free to join in and let me know if there's something particular, and then I can do some probing questions. I know Nicole is here, and she may have prepared for this, so I don't know, Nicole, did you want to take on? Or are you still en route?
Oh, I'm okay. Um,
Did
I
you
was
have
just
any
wondering.
points? Because you might have you might already had some lead on it. So I'm gonna
Yeah, I can. I can
yeah,
take
go
over.
ahead. I can yeah,
Or
okay, go ahead.
I just
I
wanted.
just
I
was your
want
reader
you to
today.
point out your things first. You can
Okay,
point out your
okay.
things first, but before that, I just want to ask everybody if they notice the point of view that when you read, does anybody notice the point of view that is being told from?
The point of view.
Yeah, like if when you're reading, do you notice the point of view that is being read from, that is being told from?
To me, it's pretty similar. It's similar to me like it was um not quite similar with Enoch, except for it seems like these are messengers that are kind of speaking. I don't know if I'm answering your question right. I'll let someone else go.
You are. Yeah, you are. It was Enoch was told from Enoch's point of view, but this
Uh-huh.
one is being told from the angels of God point of view. Because
Hmm.
you notice when they said that he descended and then they descended, and it was saying we. So it was you, and in the beginning of the book it says that on Mount Sinai, the angels of God wrote down all of those words for
Yes.
for Moses. So it's you can that's where you can actually see that it's being told from their point of view.
Yes.
But I
And I
do have
think,
some observations, but I don't know
okay.
what you got. No, go
No, I
ahead,
was,
Sanina.
when you asked it, it kind of threw me because I think I kind of remember that from when I've read it before. It is from the angels. And then I think we saw, and you pointed out that even with the Torah, when he was up, the angels were actually the ones that did the right. And then you state that,
Yeah, that's what it was
remember?
saying
Yeah.
in the beginning.
Hmm. Yeah.
This was just the first chapter that I actually noticed them saying we, as in from their point of view.
Yeah. And Brian wrote and said, regarding the herbs, sound like it's from the Watchers. So yeah, that's what we're saying. And I look, I hate that Malik are not here because y'all know Malik with these herbs and stuff. I was like, oh, he's not here. So so I'll go ahead and point and then I'll get out the way. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, you're fine.
All right. So, I'm just going by what I had underlined. I have here the sons of Noah came to their father and told him that these spirits were confusing, blinding, and even killing their descendants. And then Noah prayed to the Most High, his sovereign ruler, um, and Yahweh of all spirits and all creation, you have shown mercy. I just noticed how he prayed for them. Like these these spirits, I think we've talked about this before, like these spirits, these fallen ones, or the spirits that were left, right? We've talked about that in the past. But here we get to see an account of even Noah talking about their effects on humankind, and he actually prayed to the Most High for his sons because we see that, and I think that that is really important to note because why would we think that they're not doing the same today? So that was my point for there. He said in the latter part of verse 3, do not let or do not allow wicked spirits to rule over them, lest they wipe them out from the earth. And I think that Noah kind of really would have an understanding of that because, hey, he was in the ark and he obeyed the Most High during that time. And then verse 10, and one of us was ordered to teach Noah all the medicines and healing methods. I'm reading out of my book now, but it's talking about those herbs. For the Most High knew that humans would not live rightly and pursue truth. So I think that that was interesting, and Nicole may have some on that. So I'm going to just read them, and then I'm not going to give too much of my points because I'm going to let her do her part. This was her day. So 12, we taught Noah all the remedies of their ailments and temptations so that he could heal them using the plants of the earth. And then 14, he gave all that was written to Shem, his oldest son, whom he loved most of all his children. And I'm going to stop there because some of this I might be going on and she's gonna do. So that I'll stop there, Nicole. Go ahead.
No, actually, that was one of my first two observations. The first observation was I'm sorry, was the whole spiritual warfare thing. That's where we really see for the first time, aside from when the Garden of Eden, this is where you really kind of get a picture of what spiritual warfare looks like, and it gives the details of really where these unclean spirits come from. I think we already pretty much kind of knew, but this kind of sums it up. And then when you compare it to actual, like the book, the canon, when you compare it to actually the books in the canon, and you get into Joshua and Exodus, and you see where even in where David fought, even up to the point where David, and you can see where they fought these giants that were from the Nephilim. And this just kind of like sums up how the spirits of like the Nephilim survived and how they became these unclean, how they became these unclean spirits. So I feel like we see it for the first time where there's spiritual warfare, and you can see where they're like kind of basically misleading and causing harm and basically trying to destroy Noah's descendants. And then you look at to Tanita's point, Noah's first response to what was going on was prayer. It was him like he went and basically asked the Most High to intercede, you know, for him. And he basically he didn't try to confront anything, on his own strength. He went straight to the Most High. And I think we as people, a lot of time, our first response to things is to try to confront the situations in our own strength. And this should be like an example for us of where our help come from. Our help come from him. And it's like in this situation, Noah remembered like the mercy of the Most High. And he remembered how he delivered him through the flood, and he asked him to protect his descendants. So I think that's kind of an example to for us. on how to fight spiritual warfare, and that's with prayer. And that's by going to him, depending on him to intercede for us. That's all I got. If you want to kind of elaborate on it a little more, Anita, or anybody else.
Yeah, no, you sealed that up there. That was good. And that's the yeah. I saw it, but I like how you summed it up. What's standing out to me now, and I would probably need help with this possibly. For me, my and it could be my ignorance in some areas. It seems as if I'm back on this medicines for healing herbs and stuff. It seems to me like there's a very thin line there between this and the dark side. And I say that because this thing with herbalists, I hear when I've heard it, maybe, and it could be the fact that, in this system we live in, they prefer you to go to the pharmacist and do prescriptions versus over natural remedies. But what I'm seeing here is that there are things, and we know that Malik does a lot on it, that there's things out there that are for us to take care of different things that happen with us, um, sickness and looks like diseases and things like that. And I know of some people that does natural stuff, or I've heard of, but it seems like there is a line where there's some with this, but then it seems like it could easily get over into um, new age. I would say it because it seems as if it gets over into energy, healing, all of that. It seemed like that sometimes is mixed in. And I just wanted to see, had you all experienced it, or y'all gonna enlighten me on it or give me some feedback on that if y'all don't mind. And I guess my question is, have you known of a person that does um or has remedies or different type of natural herbs and stuff that can be used? And do you also know of it in a way that doesn't quite seem like it is upright?
I can honestly say I follow because me personally, I've been looking for ways because I have a lot of stuff going on with my body, like high blood pressure and a lot of other things that like with my anxiety and all those things that come along. But I've been even like with noticing like my 13-year-old son and my 18-year-old son have ADHD, and I've always been against having them medicated. At first, I didn't even want to even consider a diagnosis because I didn't want them to be medicated, and I still stand by no medication because those medications change their personalities, and I don't want my kids' personalities to be changed. But I follow a lot, not a lot, but I have about four people that I follow that are like natural. One is actually an MD, Dr. Bobby Price. I'm sure some of y'all probably heard of him. He preaches vegetation over medication. I have a book of his. It's called Vegetation Over Medication. He teach you how to use veggies and fruit and herbs to like heal your body naturally. Even like he has this parasite cleanse that he does do and his group does that and people swear by it. People say that they've removed like 3 foot long parasites from their body from these parasite cleanses, but there's some that like I follow him, and because one thing with Dr. Price, he always says that, you know, to heal your body, it's spiritual and like you need God and herbs. Like that's why kind of why I follow him, and he's an MD, and he's just not some person that just and when you hear this coming from a medical doctor, somebody that was taught medication first, but he goes against, the grain, and that's why I kind of prefer to follow him. But I know others that do it, and I've been hesitant about their stuff because it almost seemed like there's some kind of witchcraft behind, even though they're using the same techniques. It's just I don't want anything to do with the witchcraft side of it. I need somebody. That's why anytime I try to follow the natural cleanses, herbal healing, I always try to see where the heart is from, where the spirit is from, and who I follow. Because to me, it matters. Even if they're doing the same thing, the spirit behind it all matters greatly to me. That's all I have.
Nagula?
Yes, I just wanted to add on that, and it's something I have also been asking myself a lot about. But here in Africa, in our language, uh, medicine is actually called omiti, which means trees. In our language, medicine is called it's when you directly translate it is called trees. So that for me stood out a lot as I'm considering that some of our languages here in Africa are actually from um, the language of the true Hebrews. So I understood that our ancestors had an understanding that healing comes from the trees. Of course, now considering when is it the book of Jubilee said the cutting is it in the book of Enoch? It said the cutting of roots was taught by the fallen angels and all those kind of stuff. Yes, and I've also seen how that is also used here in Africa. But yes, that's also a concern of mine where sometimes I'm concerned like is asking myself, is this okay to use? Is this not okay to use? And especially roots because it was explicitly mentioned in the book of Enoch. I try to stay away from, but it looks like the trees, because here in Africa we have some trees that just grow naturally, like the what do we call it? Um, neem tree. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Neem tree, where people can basically just take a branch and eat it because they know it's medicinal. And most of the food that different cultures here eat, the food, the herbs, the food like hibiscus. I grow hibiscus naturally, which you can eat the leaves and the flowers. Some and there's also our traditional spinach. It's a leafy. It's more like a herb with a lot of small leaves, but it has a lot of chlorophyll, and that is a herb that is commonly what is it eaten in Namibia. And that now when you search on the internet, you get to find out that this food and that our people ate from the olden days are actually medicine. And yes, so I still want to find out a lot about other herbs and medication, but where I'm starting now is from the understanding of our ancestors, what they ate, and that is what I've decided I'm going back to because we have found out that it is actually medicine.
Oh,
Yes,
that's really good.
that's
Oh, go ahead.
all.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's really good information. Good to know. It makes me think that some people were reading from this book. So, yeah. Okay, Sister Ingrid.
Well, the devil and all his little minions, the witches and the rest of them, they know scripture. Um, I heard the other day that they're getting spells from either Psalms or Proverbs, so they know scripture, right? And I think what's important to keep in mind is that you go about these things with the right spirit, right? Like he gave us the plants and the herbs for our healing, but then you can also go about it with the wrong spirit, and they're going about things with the wrong spirit, you know. Um, He gave us the rainbow and, said he'd never flood the earth again. He didn't give us that for gay pride because, again, they're going about it with the wrong spirit. They can go about, the devil is a counterfeit, right? So he does, I don't know if he's capable of an original thought, but he makes a counterfeit of all of the wonderful things that the Father has given us. Him and his little minions, they have counterfeits, right? Did you know they fast? I heard that they fast before they do I mean, they are counterfeit. Everything. They put like a little evil twist on it. So, I mean, at one point I had gone through my house and gotten rid of like all my oh gosh, like gemstones and stuff, right? Because I was like, oh, that's evil because the witches are doing that was silly of me, right? Because he gave us those things. Now, I'm not using them to cast spells or anything. Um, but just because they do doesn't mean I shouldn't have them, right? I remember I was at Walmart and I saw like this t-shirt with a rainbow on. I was like, oh, I can't wear that, because that promotes a homosexual agenda. Now he gave us that. We can't let him take it. That I'm gonna wear my rainbow shirt. Um, but anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
I get it. I want to get a rainbow shirt. I just didn't want to be confused with. I wanted to be out there confused, but I see what you're saying. I agree. And since some of you all have done the hibiscus and things like that, y'all gonna have to share these recipes with us because I think that is good. Nicole, you gonna jump back in?
I wanted to point out forgive me for these names, Mastima, um who he was. Like I don't wanna just assume that he is Satan, but he was basically the chief of these spirits, of these unclean spirits. And it was kind of like if you look at I guess you can kind of like see that in this situation that the father alone has dominion over all the earth, because what happens with Mestima had to go to the father and ask for and request permission from the father. And this kind of reminds me of Job. Like it puts me in the whole situation of Job, of how where Satan couldn't just do whatever he wanted to Job. First of all, Satan had to even request permission from the father to do anything, to be allowed to do anything with Job. And the father, he allowed it, but he set boundaries. He didn't just allow Satan to do whatever he wanted. He told him, you can't kill him. And I mean, sometimes I look at all of the things that he was allowed to do to Job. I'm like, man, why was he even? I get and I understand that, it was a test to see Job's faithfulness. The Most High knew Job. He knew Job's heart, and he knew that Job wouldn't turn from him no matter what Satan did. And that's why, in the end, he did, give Job back everything that was taken and more. But I ask myself sometimes, dang, why was he even allowed to have that much, to be able to have that much control over Job's life? So I don't know, it's just bringing up the whole, just how these spirits can't operate without the Most High. And it's funny that people use, like when I get into my little conversations online, so many non-believers use that as a reason to not want to follow, the Most High. They bring up how he allowed these things, how he says that basically um he created light and darkness. And they always talk about, hey, how does a loving father create light and darkness? And then all I can, like, I don't, it's honestly, y'all, I can't respond to people sometimes. The only thing I can, my response is, only thing I can think of is free will. I don't have an answer when people bring up those questions, but they always bring up Job and how, the most high allowed Satan to tempt Job the way he did. And I mean, I guess that was just, and they don't even look at the fact of how he restored him. They just look at the fact of what was taken from him. So I don't know. I'm like curious, even getting down to the point of where he allowed he the most high basically bound 90% of these unclean spirits, but he allowed the 10% to roam free. So my question to the group is, why do y'all think that the most high um do give these spirits a fighting? Well, I know he's not giving them a fighting chance, but why don't he give them any kind of, why don't he allow them to do the things that they do to us? And why do you think that he allowed the 10% to stay out of bondage? Sis Tanita?
I'll raise my hand, but if anybody else has something, I'll wait. So I just does anybody else have something before I okay.
No,
Um
I'll jump
yeah, go
in.
ahead. Go ahead.
Uh, well, the Most High does a lot of things for a lot of different reasons, right? Things we look at as curses on earth might end up being blessings for another reason. You have to tear down it. He has to tear down and destroy in order to build up anew in certain situations. Maybe it's part of his grand plan. Maybe it's some sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not variable. I'm looking for a word, something that means like you throw like a monkey wrench in the plan in order to add like a variable layer. Maybe it's to maybe he knew that one day we would have Messiah and we would have the tools necessary to fight these spirits and fight these demons. So who knows, right? So maybe he allowed it for that reason, or something, or maybe it's a part of his maybe it's an offspring of his plan. I won't say unintended consequence, but some sort of divine consequence of his plan. um, Plotted back in Genesis. I think it's Genesis 3:16, the first ever prophecy ever made in the set apart scriptures was when he said what was going to happen to Satan and that sort of thing. So when I look at the whole mechanics of his universe and everything he created, it built into it. You can see his built into his order are mechanisms for different reasons, and I think it might have something to do with our salvation, or being able to fight demons and that sort of thing. I hope that makes any sense.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
I also just wanted to add, is there somebody else or is it me speaking now?
No, go ahead, sis.
Okay. That when I read this, I remember the the scripture in the verse in the book of is it Samuel, where Saul was given a tormenting spirit from the Almighty. It says, I'm wondering now, could it could it be that this spirit that was given to torment Saul was one of these spirits that were given to Mastema for the judgment of men because of sin? Yeah, that's and I didn't quite get what was said. Is Mastema the same as Satan? Is it the same thing?
I can't say for sure that he's the same. I mean, the way stuff comes out, the way like it seems very similar. The situation seems to be very similar, but I'm not gonna speculate and say they are the same, but it just seems very similar. Sis Ingrid?
I'm sorry, I had to leave the room for a minute, so I hope I'm not like repeating something somebody already said. But I mean, just bottom line, it's about faith, right? Our ways are not his ways, our thoughts are not his thoughts. We don't know why we endure the things we endure. And we'll never have all the answers. Sometimes we just learn to stay. Sorry, I'm trying to sometimes we have to just learn to stay in a child's place, right? And the father says go left, and you might not understand why he's saying go left, just go left because you know he knows what's best. If you're going through some stuff, you don't understand why. At the end of the day, you know he's in control, right? It might not be comfortable, but sometimes we just have to go through it. And we don't know, I guess in the end it'll be revealed, but we don't always have the answer. And maybe that's part of our humanity, that we think we should always be able to decipher everything and figure out the answers and decode everything. But sometimes we can't. Our thoughts are not his thoughts and our ways are not his ways. But what is faith? It's the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. It's a matter of faith, right? Even when I don't understand, I can't give up on him. He owns me.
Brother Brian?
I believe that the Most High may have allowed for the the tenth of those spirits to remain, to purposely to entice those who would be enticed. Right. So essentially, if forcing everybody to be hot or cold and not be lukewarm. I feel like those, like the spirits, those little spirits that roam and that they entice others, like, kind of reminds me of in First Kings with Ahab, where the Most High summoned the different spirits, and he asked who would entice Ahab, so he'd go and be defeated in war, in the war that he already wanted to pursue anyway. So I think that he allows for, and I feel like others will read that and say, well, why would the Most High do this? Whereas he was going to do it anyway. I think it was just he allows these spirits to be there so that people will be separated, one or the other, right? It's like how the word separates um, those who are righteous versus from those who are evil. It's the same, so that there's no lukewarm, that you're definitive. And he knows that those spirits are only going to be able to entice or to open. I think it's with the word in the Strong's says to open. But those who would be open to it anyway. If that makes sense.
Sister Nita?
Yeah. Yes, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And Sister Mavis said, yes, that Mastema is Satan. And I kind of got that because it was saying chief of the spirits and carry out his will. And I don't know of another of the fallen ones that has a whole purpose here. I said carried out his will. I might have said that wrong, but what he wanted to do. But no, I get what everyone has said, and definitely, Brother Brian, I get what you're saying. When I read this the first time, and you all helped me, so I hope I'm not going too far here. My understanding, or what I started to understand, and this could be just me, this is the one true creator, Most High. He didn't just create humans, he created all things, as well as these angels, these messengers. And I think that in that being said, that means he's creator of all. I wouldn't go as far, I don't know if they're considered to be sons or whatever, but there's scripture that talks about, I think, Messiah being made even a little lower than the angels or something like that. But the idea is that all of this is his creation. And because this is me, him being righteous and just, how can he be righteous and just if, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like everybody has an opportunity to come. This is what I'm seeing, and I could be wrong, that if I'm righteous and just, he also created Mastema or Satan, right? He has a purpose and a plan. And I'm not saying that that means that the Father is saying, hey, go and do this. I think the righteousness of him creating him as well goes back to what Brian was also saying. And that's where our free will comes in. And I think I had asked this the other week. What role do we play in trying to make people do things the way that we want them? Shouldn't they have an option to decide if they want to live for him or not? And I think that this also comes into play when you're talking about that. There are people or seed in the earth that scripture tells us in Genesis that are the seed of him, the enemy. And so would the Father override their will if that's their seed and that is what they believe? And I might have gone too far off with that, but that's kind of what I'm getting. And it doesn't feel good. The first time I thought about it, it didn't feel good. I didn't necessarily like the feeling of it, but he's righteous and he's just. And I think that we all agree on that part. But I hope y'all understand what I'm saying with that. So I'll stop there.
Just listening to all of y'all, it brought me back to the garden, and the Most High spoke prophecy in the garden. And honestly, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, prophecy couldn't be fulfilled without these things, because the Most High already spoke of the Messiah before. Like, as soon as Adam and Eve um did what they did, um he told the serpent right then. He spoke that prophecy right then. So the Most High already saw what was unfolding. And when I'm listening to this, I just realized I'm just realizing that it's just all we're seeing now is kind of what has kind of played out behind the scenes, but it was already prophesied in the garden before they even walk out of the garden. So, in back to the whole free will thing, how else would he give us be able to give us free will to choose if there was no choice? If there was no choice, if there was only good, I mean, we would be basically, the Most High would be a puppet master, and we would pulling our strings. We would be the puppets, and he would be pulling our strings. And because he is such a good and loving and kind, you know, um, because he is so good, he gave us a choice. And I'm honestly, I appreciate that about him. I appreciate that he's not the God that will wipe us out simply from not just from moments of not being obedient or not believing. Most of this world would be gone right now if our survival depended on whether or not we chose him. I mean, in the end, a choice has to be made, but for the most part, we have had this free will. But I see prophecy had to be fulfilled, and I feel like we're just finally getting kind of a behind the scenes view of the action. Something else I think I wanted to mention was I wanted to jump on Canaan a little bit, on how when the land was divided, Canaan. I don't know. Sometimes I ask myself, when I look at the whole land situation, how when Canaan saw the territory around Lebanon, and he decided, I want this. I know that you offer me this land, but no, this one looked more appealing, so I want to take this. And then how when you look at how his family warned him, like, that land is not yours. That land is not yours. So they warned him to be, to not settle there. This was not your inheritance. Um if I'm not mistaken, it was Shem's inheritance that um Canaan decided that he wanted a piece of. And then when you get if you look at how Canaan responded, and then how who was the other one? Was it, I think is his name pronounced Madai? Um it was the same thing. When he didn't like the land. He didn't like the territory that he was given. But what did he do? He went back and said, I don't like Canaan was like, I don't like my portion, so therefore I'm going to take this part of Shem's that I like. But Madai, he was like, I don't like my portion, therefore, I'll ask about if another arrangement can be made. And what happened? They honored it. Like Canaan was discontent, so he stole. But on the other hand, Madai, he was a little discontent with it, but he didn't go and he didn't steal. He went, he asked, he sought counsel, he respected, boundaries. Canaan had no respect for order and boundaries. So it's funny how one ended up getting something different because of the way he handled the situation versus Canaan he decided to take. And in that um curse, now it makes me wonder sometimes if that's why Canaan was cursed in the first place, because I don't know if the Most High knew that he was going to be out of order or what, but I'm just curious if that's kind of why he was cursed in the first place. But I found it very interesting how two of them fell into the same situation. But the funny thing is, Canaan, I don't even know if he even made it all the way to even have a distaste for what was given to him. He just automatically saw something good, and he wanted what he saw. So I don't even know if he even made it to his territory. If anybody can enlighten me on that.
I don't have an answer for that, but I know what I've heard. I've heard that there is a land of Canaan, which would have been Shem's portion, and then there's also a land of Canaan. I would have to find out the name of it. That was his assigned land, but I would have to find out what it's called because there was a portion that was actually his, that was allotted to him. But then Canaan, which is Shem's, that he took, was also named Canaan because he landed there.
Wow, that to me is so mind blowing because I just thought when Nicole was speaking about it, I just thought that could could the land that is being called Israel now also have been called Canaan somehow? I don't know. It's just my thoughts are running wild. But if there isn't somebody else to say about what Nicole asked, I would like to say something else. I'll wait.
I believe Canaan, the land of Canaan, that the land that he stole was Israel. Remember, they went in and they actually fought the Canaanites over that land. So basically that land that he stole, that good land that he that land that he thought was so good, that was a part of the promised land. Brother Brian.
Yeah, I wonder, was the sister asking if the land that they identify as Israel today is the actual land of Canaan, like it's allotted area that they call Canaan, versus the land that he stole from Shem that ultimately that the elect reoccupied after taking it back, which is likely down further south in actual Shem's land in on the continent, versus that this area that they refer to as the Levant, maybe was the actual the actual allotted land allotted to Canaan, and they confused the two. Right?
Yes, that was my question.
I'm curious about that too. I'm like, if you look at that map that Sis Tanita shared a while ago, it kind of breaks it down. Sis Tanita, based off from what you remember from that map, do you remember where Canaan was in that map? Was it that part, the old desolate land of Israel that they call Israel now. I'm If I'm not mistaken.
Y'all making me wonder, but oh gosh, this is such good questions. I don't know why in my mind I'm thinking his land was to the west, but that could be me mixing up something. I thought I saw something here that said that,
It would make
but
sense why he was mad himself.
yeah, I want to look. I think that's a good question. Where did I see? Did you all see it said something? It was talking about his land being to the west. Let's look at if we have time. I know that we're winding up. I'm gonna look and see what they actually said was allotted to him. If the description of it. Give me a moment. I'll find it if somebody has something else.
I'm looking at this map now, and they're showing like that land attached to Elam and his sons, Assyria. Like it's around Elam. It's between. It
But
sits. It looks like it sits between Japheth
but
and then.
Elam now Elam is Shem. Elam is Shem.
Well, so that land sits in where it shows Elam and his sons.
Mm. Okay, let me see if I can see the description.
Like today, what they call modern day Egypt and Somalia, Kenya,
Now that would make
Ethiopia.
sense, Sister Nicole, because we know that Egypt is Mizraim, right?
Yeah, all that stuff is all falls
Uh-huh.
within that Elam and his sons, and then
Yeah. So it's kind of
Ashur
like,
and
if I
sons.
understood it, I think they're kind of like in the middle. It's like Japhet is higher up, Ham is kind of
Mm-hmm.
like in the middle, and then Shem was lower down. Even though he's lower down, when you look at, I guess if you're looking at the earth, it's still the center, like the navel of the earth. Um, so yeah, kind of like what you're saying, we know it would be close to what you're saying is Egypt because we know those are Ham's descendants, right?
Mm-hmm.
In chapter 8, it says, Ham's portion, the second, lay beyond the Gihon, south of the garden, and extended south to all the fiery mountains, sea west to the Sea of Atel, and further to the Sea of Murak, into which all the destruction flows. It said it turned northward to the border of Gedar and followed the Great Sea coastline until it neared the Gihon River. That Great Sea, some think is what's the sea to the left there? It ain't the Atlantic, is it? It said tracing it back right up to the Garden of Eden. So that was where I was remembering west to the Sea of Artel, further to the Sea of Merak, into which all the destruction flows, and it turns northward to the border of Gedar and followed the Great Sea's coastline. Yeah, I'm gonna look at it more, and then when I see it, I'll try to circle and put it out there, okay? Because I know I can
Mm.
find the in-depth description, so I'll try to make sure I follow up with you all on that this week, unless somebody else has it.
Well, that was all of my observations. Does anybody else have anything that they observed or anything that they want to bring up?
I have a question. Nicole, I asked in the chat, do you all, I know you mentioned this, do you think that was prophecy fulfilled when Ham went in and saw Noah and then he said, cursed be Canaan? I know you said maybe the Most High saw, but wasn't that prophecy fulfilled? This curse, he went in and then he said he would be cursed. And then, of course, he followed up and he did this. And the brothers were saying it.
Yeah, that's what I assumed that because that's Noah was saying curse be Canaan, and then after that happened, after the land grab that Canaan did, then you actually hear when the curse was actually put on him. So go ahead, Brother Reno. Brother Reno, we can't hear you.
How the spirits could bring on disease or anything like that. I was just curious.
Can you repeat that, Brother Reno? Because you cut out in the beginning.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay. Yeah, I was asking about basically, does anyone have any insight on, I know it said in the chapter about the unclean spirits bringing disease, so I was just wondering if anybody had any further insight or deeper introspection on the unclean spirits bringing disease or whatnot.
I don't really have much to say about it, but it's interesting that oh, sis Mavis, can you um kind of speak on what you was just saying about the unrighteousness?
Hello, everyone. Greetings. My background noise is so bad. Sorry. So, for what I could deduce, it seems like things come about due to unrighteousness, but not necessarily personal unrighteousness. I mean, due to how we live, but it could be like bloodline. But then also, I remember when Messiah was in the world, how the blind person, the disciples asked, like, is this person blind because of him or something that the parents did? And the Messiah had said, it's neither, but to, it's to, for a time like this, to glorify the Most High. So, due to sin, but just because a person has certain illness or they are not well doesn't mean it's due to sin. It could be anything. But definitely, I think what we have in our arsenal as people is right to righteous living, repent, and know that we've done our due diligence in our end, and constantly praying for the bloodline. So intercession, as we can see, all Noah did was pray for the bloodline, for the descendants, and that from then they were prevented from doing anything to the descendants. I mean, if when we can, as we, I mean, we read, Noah himself never had to use medication. I mean, the herbs, never had to use the herbs. It's his descendants that had to use the herbs. So definitely, I think holiness, righteousness has a lot to do with our well-being and following Torah. Thank you.
Sister Nicole, I was just going to add what I've heard. So this is only, well, I've seen it, some situations where it lines up with what Sister Mavis is saying. And we know not every sickness is due to that, but I have with deliverance ministers that pray for people, and sometimes are actually performing deliverance. There have been situations where there have been demonic spirits, and I think even in the scripture, they wouldn't have brought that up had had it not been some situations where demonic entities were causing it, and we saw even with Messiah. So I think what she is saying, if we live righteous and we're living upright, those spirits don't have a door or a way to cause sickness. When it's not a situation like that, of course, it's probably the foods and stuff that we eat, but there are situations where those spirits may have an open door. I've even, and this is heard of situations where what you sin doing opens up a door to that area of your body or your life. If you're using, I'll just use something with, if it's fornication. I've heard of stuff like that. There's an open door for stuff to be able to attack you to those areas. It's almost like whatever you open up, you open it up for them. But if we're living righteous, that is closed. They don't have an opening to that. So, and I know I heard Pastor Darby teach on this. We think that some of the things that we've done in sin is just sin, but we've opened it up, and then we face some things further down the road, and then deliverance is performed. But that deliverance only work if you are living righteous, like Sister Mavis was saying.
This is why, y'all, I stopped watching like horror movies and all kinds of things because, and I will say, ever since I stopped watching like horror movies and stuff, I have not had a nightmare. I used to have really bad nightmares, and it all stopped. Once I like started walking this path and I let all of that stuff out of my life, the nightmares literally completely stopped. I have not had one single nightmare, and I went from having nightmares all the time, like waking up out of my sleep, shaking in a panic, sometimes don't even know why, can't even remember a dream or anything. I just wake up out of my sleep, shaking, panicking, screaming. My husband, he told me he used to think I was possessed, but like I do agree that I think what we let into our lives, I think a lot of the stuff that go on in our lives is things, doors and stuff that we open up, and I feel like I'm a testimony to that. Sis Ingrid.
I think that's interesting what you just said, Sister Nicole. There was this program on FX, and I never really watched FX, right? And it was called Beauty, and it had like Ashton Kutcher. And I said, I'm going to watch this. I watched it once, and I couldn't watch. I mean, I had like the worst night. I mean, the worst nightmare. The I I knew I had done something wrong, right? And it just, I think that channel is wicked, by the way. Um, but yeah, that's really not why I raised my hand. I raised my hand because of verse 10. And one of us command that we should teach Noah all their medicines, for he knew that they would not walk in uprightness, nor strive in righteousness. And I'm not sure how to articulate this, but I want it like elaborated on. So that to me, this is saying that I don't know. I mean, some of the stuff that we go through, I think it's not because of us. I mean, it's stuff like from our parents, right? Like I recently found out that I had like witches, like my grandmother. These people were witches, and I just wonder, am I suffering or do I don't like the word suffering, but am I having to deal with like the sins of the fathers and the mothers because they didn't walk in righteousness? And I think that's something like we need to keep in mind as parents. What kind of legacy are you leaving? But anyway, I found this verse interesting. I found this verse particularly interesting. So
I personally think we do. Some of us do suffer unknowingly due to the sins of our, it may not even be our direct parents, but remember, he said he would curse those who curse him for 7 years, like he'll curse you for 7 generations. So we can be living on curse you for 7 generations and bless you for 1,000 generations. So we could definitely be living on um sins of our fathers from up to 7 generations ago. So I'm definitely a believer of that because it's scriptural. Sis Nangula?
Yes. The this is the part where I wanted to touch next, where Noah prayed, and God actually, or I mean, the Almighty did something according to Noah's prayer. And this reminds me of what the Bible says, that the prayer of the righteous availeth much. So before we could even think of medicine or anything like that, and this is common to what the Israelites did in the Old Testament when they saw a plague or a sickness in their community or in their household. The first question that they would ask is, who has sinned? And I think that should I learn a lot from that, because when something happens in our home, the first question now that I ask is, have I done anything? Has somebody done anything? Or has somebody in my household, are we living in the way that we the Most High expects us to do? And then um I can continue, I can then after pray about the situation, because um with this realization I've noticed that you can't just pray everything away. Your righteousness is much more considered than just your prayer, and even your prayer are hindered because of your unrighteousness. So yeah, it's a big deal. And it reminds me as also of the story of Job. Job was a righteous person, but yet I believe the Almighty decided to test him, or yeah, according to so that he can prove a point, and to the enemy. And sometimes I ask myself, once could it be that sometimes it's not because you have been unrighteous or somebody else in your household, that it's just a test that the Most High is putting you through, which could be a sickness, like in the in the in the in the life of Job.
Does anybody else want to respond? Does anybody else have any other observations? Well, guys, thank you all for this discussion. I'll share some things. If anybody have anything that they want to share in the group, please share, especially when it comes to the herbal healing. I'll share what the people that I follow, that I know of, and people that I have people that swear that they've been healed of like stage 3 lung cancer from some of these herbal remedies. Um, so I'll share the people that I know, and if anybody else have anybody that they want to share, please share with the group. And I do try to kind of like vet the people that I follow to make sure they're not into witchcraft. But if nobody else have anything, I will pray and close us out.
Just real quick, I promise I'll make it quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, as far as that hibiscus tea is concerned, so I know a couple of people who the doctor could not get their blood pressure under control. Well, one in particular, and she's controlling it herself with hibiscus tea. I mean, all the drugs and everything, the doctor couldn't get it under control. She started drinking hibiscus tea and she's good. There's a plant, and I'll post it. But I think like anybody that has like an insulin issue, I think they should own this plant. They should grow this plant because it's called the insulin plant. They use it in India to control diabetes, right? And the reason why I say anybody with an insulin problem, or you know somebody that has one, I think you should have it, because I think there's going to come a day when, unless you do what they say, they're going to withhold your drugs, right? And so you need a backup plan. Like I said I'd make this quick, but I have a friend that's on dialysis. And when they started with all the COVID nonsense, and he told them he didn't want to take the vaccine, they told him, so he had to take it. They told him if he did not take that vaccine, that they would not let him get his dialysis treatment. So he took it. And I thought, it's going to get bigger than this. You know, COVID was just a test, right? So I think that goes for, all of our ailments. We need to find solutions in nature. Our grandparents used to know these things. Our great grandparents used to know these things. I'm supposedly, the doctor says, like, I suffer from allergies, and I used to go to the doctor like 3 days a week before work. I get, several shots in each arm. 3 days a week now. Like, so I'd show up like 7:30, 8 a.m. on my way to work. My arms were black and blue and it wasn't doing anything for me. And I belong to like there's another group that I study with. And one of the sisters in there, I was telling her about it. She goes, "Oh, that's your lymph nodes, right?" And interestingly enough, the thought had crossed my mind. Like, and I just took that as confirmation. And so she suggested like a couple of different what we call weeds, right? Because a lot of the stuff we throw away is actually medicine that he's given us, but we don't know any better, right? Because they've told us it's weeds and they've got us addicted to that garbage in the system. But I've just been doing it for about a week and a half now, and I already see a difference. So all those years of going to the doctor and getting all those shots and all those diagnoses, I can't think of what the thing is called, but there's like this needle that you jab into your thigh if you can't breathe. I'm not supposed to leave home without that. It's been sitting in my drawer for about a decade. Okay. I just go about my life, right? But he he's given us solutions in nature, and I'm not going to let the devil tell me, try to confuse me and tell me that, well, that's what the witches did. That's an EpiPen, right? I've got a prescription for one. It's just sitting in my drawer. I used to carry it in my purse religiously. I've never had cause to use it though, right? But according to the doctor, my allergies are so bad. But yeah, he's given us solutions in nature, and the devil will try to twist it up and make it and confuse us. Like we don't want to do what the witches are doing. They stole from us. They copy and they copy and they bastardize. They copy and twist it and make it their own and use it for evil, right? But anyway, I'm sorry. I said I was going to make it short, so sorry.
No, it's interesting what you said about how our grandparents and stuff, they knew those things. And going back to what we just read in Jubilees, Noah was given those things and he wrote them down and he passed them to Shem. And, seeing how these things are supposed to be passed down. But the unfortunate thing for most of us, especially for us Black Americans, is that our ancestors couldn't read and write. I am only the second generation in my family that was actually able to read or write. And when I was researching my ancestry, I learned that like my great grandparents and my grandparents couldn't even, when I look at the census, they couldn't read. So it's like hard to pass things down when you can't even read or write to pass the information. And I feel like for us, that's how it got lost.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of it. And I also think like, so my mother is 87 years old, right? And just talking to my mother, and something I noticed, like, so I didn't grow up in the South. I grew up in California, right? But when I came to the South, I noticed the worst insult you could give to a Black person was to call them country. Okay? People did not want to be called country because they wanted to leave their roots. They wanted to go to the city and get on, get on all the drugs with the doctor and live in an apartment. But when we were country, we were healthier. Okay. When we were country, we were healthier. Um, and I think like my mother actually knew slaves. She actually knew slaves, right? Like she was raised by her grandparents. She knew slaves. So you're right. We haven't been literate that long, but now that we are, it's time to play catch up, right? I bought like this blank book, and every time I find out about a new herb or something, I'm supposed to write it in this book, not just for myself, but hopefully, prayerfully, I don't know how long this world's going to go on, but my children will have it, just like the same sister that was telling me that she thought it was my lymph nodes was also, she told me like there's this herb called shingalea or something like that. And I started trying to find it, right? And I found it one place, but it was really expensive. It was like $30 for 2 ounces or something like that. And I thought, well, you know what? I'll just grow it. And when I started looking into it, and I found it, long story short, it's a weed growing in my backyard. Okay, something that I've been chopping down. Okay, it's growing in my yard. That's crazy. Okay. But that's because we've been taught like dandelions and milk thistle, all these things are weed. You need to get rid of them. These are herbs he gave you. These are herbs. These are herbs, right? But we don't know that anymore. But we need to, study, wake up, talk to one another, you know. Everybody knows a little something, right? And just take note of it. Just compare notes. Like my mother was talking about how her grandmother was always talking about the black walnut tree, and she couldn't remember why. But you know what I did? I went out and bought a black walnut tree. I'm still not quite sure why I have it. I think it's good for your immune system. I think like the whole. I'm not quite sure on it, and it's just a baby tree, but I've got one because if my great grandmother said that we should all have a black walnut tree, I got a black walnut tree, and I'm gonna find out why I need this tree. But I think yes, we haven't been literate that long, and to our credit though, you got to say this though, right? We're not that far removed from slavery, but look what we've done in that little bit of time. The Most High's hand had to be on this situation, right? I mean, in this little bit of time, I think we've come a long way. And maybe this is just pride or whatever, but I think we've come a long way. Um, but yeah, I'll be quiet. I know it's 10:30, so.
No, I agree. I definitely think we've come a long way, especially I would say in the last 20 years. I think many of us have been waking up to so much, and I'm here for it.
Or just
But
getting out of the system. Stop taking all those drugs. I mean, just think about it for a minute, right? Like your kidney, I guess your kidneys, your liver, they're going to pay for that. You just can't keep popping the pharmacia, right? And not pay for it. But then he's giving you herbs in nature, right? That you need to learn how to use, or you can keep taking pharmacia. And most of that pharmacia is based on nature. Right. I remember my mother telling me that like one of her cousins was a pharmacist, and she was saying like she remembers how like in the 1940s them going to the jungles like in South America to basically make synthetic versions of what the herbs and things there. It's based on what's in nature, but it's not good for you. It's synthetic. It's literally pharmakia, right? And he's given us solutions. We just need to like find our way back to the country. I'm not saying that we have to be country, right? But we need to find our way back to like the herbs that he gave us to heal ourselves. I mean, think about all those, they've taught you that those things you're cutting down in your yard are weeds and to get rid of them. A lot of those are herbs, but people don't realize it. I, I'm naive, but I recently found out about dandelions that they're good for you. I've been chopping those things down for decades in my yard, thinking it was garbage. Milk thistle, good for you, right? But they taught me it was a weed, and they taught me to go to Walgreens and get some Tylenol or whatever's ailing me, to buy some synthetic plastic garbage off the shelf that's going to eventually hurt my kidneys or my liver. Your body doesn't know how to process that stuff, but your body does know how to process what the Most High made. Shutting up now, I promise.
no, I just shared a book, the title of a book by Dr. Bobby. It's called Dr. Bobby's Healing Recipe and Remedies. It said it's supposed to be over 70. It's 70 pages of plant-based alkaline recipes and healing remedies. So, and he's an MD, so I think he's more credible than most of these people that practice all this herbal stuff, because he knows both sides, and that's why. And I know that he believes in the Most High. I don't know if Dr. Bobby, he may be a Christian. I don't think he's on the our path, but I still kind of trust a lot of the information that he shared.
I trust him
But
too. I don't think he's wicked. I think I think he
right,
really means well for his people. I trust him.
yeah. Does anybody have anything else? All right. Well, I will close us out in prayer. Abba, thank you for the truth, wisdom, and correction we receive through this study. Help us to remain dependent on you, especially when we face spiritual opposition, uncertainty, or discontent. Teach us to trust your authority, respect the boundaries you establish, and be content with the portion you have given us. Guard us from pride, rebellion, jealousy, and the desire to make a name for ourselves apart from you. Give us discernment to recognize what is from you and what is not. Help us pursue knowledge that produces righteousness, healing, and obedience. Strengthen our families, protect our homes, and help us pass down truth faithfully to the next generation. May you lead this study more submitted to your will, more confident in your sovereignty, and more committed to walking in your ways. It is in your Son and Messiah's name that I pray. So be it. Y'all, thank y'all for this discussion, and I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all day.